A groundbreaking new paper has just been published looking at the effects of dietary patterns on COVID-19 severity, and the findings are extremely eye-opening. It's the first of its kind on the subject of COVID and was published in major peer-reviewed journal BMJ Nutrition, Prevention and Health. The research took place in 6 high-income countries: the US, the UK, France, Germany, Italy and Spain. It was a case control study looking at health outcomes in existing groups of people and then comparing the results. Was it the absolute best data? No, this type of study is about halfway up the hierarchy of evidence. But as far as nutrition and COVID is concerned, it's about the best evidence that we can hope to collect. The data was collected between July and September 2020 from at-risk doctors and other medical professionals working on the front line of medicine. They were asked if they contracted COVID-19 and how severe their symptoms were. Again, surveys such as this are not exactly the gold standard for data collection. However, because these were medical professionals being polled, you can infer that the data being collected will be much more medically accurate versus if you asked the average Joe on the street. Answers ranged from very mild, asymptomatic or almost no symptoms, mild, which means a low fever, cough or some breathlessness, moderate, i.e. quite unwell, fever, respiratory symptoms and chest x-rays showing some changes due to COVID, or severe, requiring hospitalization most of the time due to severe respiratory stress. Next, they were asked to describe their dietary patterns. The findings were that of the 2,884 participants, 254 were either whole foods, plant-based or vegetarian, i.e. high amounts of whole plant foods, some with additional dairy products or eggs. There was also a low-carb, high-protein group which many people still mistakenly consider to be a healthy way to eat. Sadly, these made up around 20% of participants. As there were so few pescatarians, their results later got lumped in with the plant-based group. Now, one great aspect of this study is that they didn't just look at diet. They also collected data for age, sex, race, ethnicity, smoking status, physical activity, BMI, comorbidities, supplementation, and PPE access. This is particularly important as people with agendas, including professionals who should know better, will say that vegans only do well because typically they have other healthy lifestyle habits. From my perspective as a former nutritionist and personal trainer, I would say that that is far from the main driver. Most are in it for the ethics and have as poor lifestyle habit as most meat eaters. But anyway, thanks to the rigor of this study, they can't hide behind that old nonsense here. I'd also like to add that most comorbidities are avoidable with a healthy enough vegan diet. Therefore, I believe that should that have not been controlled for, I believe that the vegans would have done better than this study suggests. Anyway, the results were as follows. 20% contracted COVID. 75% of cases were graded as mild, the remainder being moderate or severe. Out of all the factors controlled for, diet seemed to have a huge correlation on the severity of COVID symptoms. The so-called plant-based group had a massive 73% less instances of moderate to severe symptoms. That is huge. The low-carb, high-protein group had 48% more instances of moderate to severe symptoms versus people eating a more standard mixed diet. This keto-style group were 3 times more likely to have a bad time of it versus the plant-based eaters. Eat suffering, become suffering. When they added the pescatarians in with the plant-based eaters, they then had 59% less instances of moderate to severe symptoms. My feeling here is that plants are denser in micronutrients, offering protection against illness, and fish really is just another type of meat that happens to come from the sea. Not nearly as nutritious and displacing the healthy legumes, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds. Such a shame they didn't divide up the whole foods plant-based eaters and the vegetarians. Again, dairy products nutritionally, it's like liquid meat, very poor relative to whole plant foods. But anyway, the plant-based group still blew the omnivorous eaters and the keto diet is out of the water as expected. You are what you eat, so I avoid dead meat. Now click this.